Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Hanging in there. It's just settling that the Eagles have a chance to win the Super Bowl this week.
It's the Chiefs. I feel pretty confident.
I'm confident, but nervous. I think the Chiefs will win. I think they're better, but you never want to see the Eagles win a Super Bowl if you can
That's
avoid
true.
it.
Yeah. In a sick, twisted way, it's so bad for the Giants, but it would be very funny, maybe, I guess you'd say, if Saquon won a Super Bowl.
I'm not anti Saquon. He did nothing wrong. He got drafted to the
Yeah.
wrong team. We did
Yeah.
wrong by him. He was a good guy. He was a good teammate. He was a good ambassador for the team.
I just think it will just rub it in the faces of the Giants administration who have just destroyed this franchise over the past several years.
It would just be it would be sad. It would be like a kick in
Yeah.
the gonads
Yeah.
if he won.
Imagine you drafted this guy in 2018 and you couldn't put an offensive line together for him.
Alex, they made the playoffs one time and they won one playoff game. They did
Couldn't
nothing. They did nothing with him.
put an offensive line together is my biggest thing. You drafted wide receivers, tight ends, cornerbacks, you name it. You couldn't give this absolute superstar an offensive line.
He wasn't the right pick. He wasn't the right pick.
Never wasn't the right pick. Still though, you could have made better with that pick by putting an offensive line. Something you and I have said for years. You build inside out.
That's why I don't want a quarterback this year.
Yeah, me neither.
But
they're going to.
If Carter and Hunter go 1-2, I bet they go quarterback. They'll just take a quarterback.
They're going quarterback no matter how. I mean, they're going quarterback. I have like pretty much certainty that they're going to take quarterback here. I don't think it's the right call. I don't think it's the right call either, but I'm fairly certain that they're going to.
I texted my brother-in-law. I wouldn't be happy, but I would understand it if they went quarterback. If
they're going to,
yeah,
just settle in that they're going
to. Why do we have the number 3 pick on a bad quarterback draft?
Just don't trade up. Just don't lose picks to get a quarterback.
No, they can't.
Don't trade up.
Let's
trade back. You can trade back.
The one time we traded back, we passed on Micah Parsons and we drafted Kadarius Toney. We've been banging the table for that for years. Since we've known each other, we want trade back every year.
Didn't they move back twice? I think they moved back twice to get Kadarius Toney. Like in the same round, I think they moved back twice.
They don't make the right. They trade up for DeAndre Baker. They trade back for Kadarius Toney. It's just they can't negotiate the draft at all.
They traded up. I forgot what it was and lost the pick for. Who's the wide receiver now that they don't use? He went to Tennessee in college.
Oh, Jalen Hyatt.
Yes. Yeah, they lost a pick and traded up for him around, I think.
Yeah, I think we also traded up for someone else. I was like, they traded up for that guy? It's garbage. All right. Let's get into the book this week. A little programming note change. We kind of determined that we're not ready, prepared, we're not evolved enough to welcome on Steve Stratton for, author interview to go through that. We want to kind of grow our knowledge base, our production, our footprint. So we're going to see if our paths cross later in time. But in the meantime, we kind of did Audible and we shifted to a Ernest Hemingway short story, The Snows of Kilimanjaro. It was published in Esquire magazine in 1936. And the synopsis is, the story follows Harry, an aging writer who is stranded on the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa after being injured. As he lays dying from an infected wound, he reflects on his life, lost opportunities, and unachieved potential. Harry had once been full of ambition, but his focus shifted to comfort and indulgence, leading him to squander his talent. His thoughts wander between memories of his past relationships, especially with his wife Helen, who was with him during his final moments.
That's funny. That synopsis is more of the story than the actual story.
The story's okay. So this is my first Hemingway.
Oh, okay. A lot of people would say it's good to start on his short stories. A lot of people say his short stories are where it's at. He might be more well known for his books, but the short stories, a lot of people say, is his best works.
I was Hemingway. I can't wait to read it. Can't wait to read it. And then I was like, okay, this is like good. This is a little wandering, a little unique, kind of unique perspective. It's not a guy traipsing through the African jungle, just absolutely being the man. He's kind of down in his luck. He's got gangrene from an infected pricker bush.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But then the best part was like the description of death creeping in on him.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, this is like Edgar Allan Poe-esque. This is unbelievable. That
Yeah.
passage was by far my favorite part.
Yeah, it's dark. I mean, this short story is very, very dark in that he's nasty. You see him like turn nasty. You see him look back on things with so much regret that's got to just like hurt. And then yes, the scene where he's actually kind of viewing the oncoming death is scary.
Yeah, it sends a shiver down your spine.
Yeah.
He kind of treats death as something. It's kind of he vacillates between taking it lightly, just like I want to have a gin tonic or I want to have a vodka soda, whatever his drink of choice was, and then being morose about what his life could have been and what it turned out to be, which I kind of understand with. You kind of go, oh, death, everyone dies, I'm
Yeah.
nothing special, and then when you're faced with the reality of it, you're like, oh, what could have been in my life? What did I do wrong? What did I do right?
Yeah, it is dark though. It's not like, hey, when you go, you want to be, surrounded by the ones you love and look on all the things you did with a smile. He's surrounded by somebody, I would say, because he goes over and back and forth about this, about his wife. I think maybe he has love for her, but doesn't love her. It just seems like, yeah, he chose to be with her because he enjoyed parts of it, but a big piece of it is just that I get bored. I get bored with everything. I get bored with things that are good. I get bored with things that are bad. And his wife was one of them. So yeah, he's on his deathbed with nobody around he loves, not able to do what he likes, and the only company he has is the oncoming death.
Yeah, I don't know. I use ChatGPT for these synopsises. Sometimes I tweak them, sometimes I don't. I don't know if Helen is his wife. I
They
think
didn't say that. They didn't
what?
say that. Yeah, no, in the book he never said wife.
Yes, I don't believe she's officially his wife. Just they're kind
I
of
didn't think so.
a mature couple.
Yeah.
She had a
In fact,
previous husband.
yeah,
He had a
definitely
previous wife.
his husband. Yeah, yeah.
And I think her. I think when I was reading about this short story, because it's got a lot of like subtext. I think because her husband and child died previously. He ruined his relationship with his first wife. So these aren't very, uh, you know, these characters aren't paradigms of virtue and
They're not wholesome. Yeah, it's not
not
wholesome
wholesome. They're
characters.
not
Yeah.
wholesome. It's they are lost. They are in the savannah. They don't know how to. Their car is broken down, and they're facing, wildlife conditions, and obviously oncoming infection.
Yeah, with no way out, no end in sight. They're basically they're waiting on a plane to potentially come save them.
And I like how he that last part where he hallucinates the
That's the
plane
best part.
coming.
Yeah, that whole thing is the best part. The way that turns or twists, I guess you could say, the whole story.
There's so many good parts of it. There's parts where you're like, okay, these people are out in the savannah, and then you kind of realize, oh, he's got an infection. Oh, they're lost and stranded. Oh, this isn't a rollicking adventure of, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. It's very interesting to hear like your take of it, especially being the first Hemingway, because like you said, you expect this to be like a man's man book about like shooting and hunting. It's
yeah,
Nose of Kilimanjaro. How cool is that? It's gonna be like tracking wild animals and stuff.
exactly. Man versus nature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of the exact opposite, which could be like a lot of people say is kind of the story of his life, where yeah, he comes off and he writes about man and all this macho stuff, but at the end of the day, maybe he's just petrified of death and dying alone.
I think that is a very astute observation because obviously he killed himself and he probably did have that internal darkness of am I a sham? Am I really who I say I am? Why do I go on these adventures? Because that's what the character Harry faces. He's like, why am I doing this? Am I really who I think I am, or am I just kind of a wandering adolescent who in a man's body who never really committed or pursued my goals?
Yeah, I do like the hyena character as well. And by character, I mean they're sleeping in a tent and there's a hyena outside. But I do like the connection you see there between his soul, I guess you could say, and the hyena.
It's almost like if a more ominous Jaws. I know obviously Jaws is like there's a shark in the water, but this
Yeah,
is more of a psychological
yeah,
Jaws where it's like there's a hyena out there and that's circling. It's ready to. And what is a hyena? A hyena is a
scavenger.
scavenger. It's a
Yeah,
it presents itself when there's death around.
yeah.
So it's like, oh, what does this hyena represent? Oh,
And I
represent.
think even in the beginning too, I think he talks about vultures. There's like vultures flying around, kind of like waiting for something, and then you realize, oh, it's him who smells like death, who has gangrene. So maybe they're waiting for him, which is gruesome.
Yeah, I love that he got the gangrene from trying to take a picture of an animal and he doesn't treat
Got the
the
bush, and then
prick
didn't.
right.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. He
it
said he used like a little iodine, but didn't put the cream on it or whatever it was.
yeah. Again, it's a short story, so there's not so much to get into. I just really liked it. It was not what I was expecting because it wasn't that conquering hero. It was the sad sack in who what could have been almost like a was it Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Uh,
kind of you pity him more than anything else.
yeah, there's some pity and there's a lot of self pity and almost with Helen the female as well. Like what she's with this man who
Yeah,
she's a
what kind of life is she living? She got brought out to God knows what Africa. Sounds like she has like all the money in the world, so she could do whatever she wants, and now she's dealing with this.
rich widow. Yeah, I don't have much.
I'm glad you liked it because I've read a bunch of Hemingway stuff, and this is probably one of my least favorites.
What did you think of the kind of the side, not
Next,
commiserations, kind of where he reflects back on his life, his times in like Paris and
yeah,
Constantinople, and the Black Forest of Germany. He's
yeah.
clearly a World War I veteran, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh, wait, you mean actually or Harry?
Harry.
Yeah, Harry. I assume he fought in World War One. The way he
Hmm.
was talking about being on the front lines and stuff like that. But I don't know if he was actually a soldier. Maybe he was like a correspondent or something like that. I'm
Okay,
not
yeah.
sure. But yes, he was definitely on the front lines there and dealt with it. He talks about one of the commanding officers who got his leg torn up and ate all the
Hmm.
morphine. So
Hmm.
he was there. Um, what was your question? What did I think about that subtext compared to the actual was going on? Yeah, it was interesting to have that introspective viewpoint. I read the physical book, and the physical book actually italicizes the print when he
I
goes.
believe I believe most copies do that because I was reading
Oh,
about
you
the
did
book.
too? Yeah, yeah. So as I was reading it, I mean that's just like it's Hemingway's writing style, where it's just so short and so uh, defined, I guess you could say, that I feel like it didn't flow considerably well. But it's a short story. I mean, you're just
Yeah.
trying to get everything in within a couple pages, and so I think it did a very good job at that.
I thought his prose would have been more jarring after what so many people make of it, how it's so
Yeah,
sparse and direct. I thought it was very readable and very,
yeah. Oh, definitely
okay.
readable. Yeah,
Um, it was interesting. You just have those end of life contemplations. Uh, I appreciated or liked those scenes in Africa more, but
yeah, yeah. You do think about this as a short story by Hemingway hunting book. It's not.
I like it that it's kind of. I like the
Yeah,
like
I'm
we said.
glad. No, I'm glad you kind of came away with that because there's plenty of other stuff that we can and will read that's more hunting, action, adventure. This is not an action adventure. This is like a psychological piece.
I loved it. The everyone should read it just for the last quarter
Yeah.
of
You
when
can
he's
read
dying,
it,
when he's hallucinating. Yeah,
for me, it was 29 pages. It's 29 pages of writing. Yeah,
yeah,
you could read that pretty easily.
yeah. I got nothing. I really liked it. I quick short story. I kind of. Do you want to go over? quick score. I think I still want to give this a score.
Yeah,
And then
even that's a
I
short
want to
one.
hear your thoughts. We can do a little book planning, and then do you want to do? I want to hear Mr. NBA, your thoughts on the Luka trade.
Sure. Yeah, we can touch on that. So,
All right, I'm gonna give this.
Yeah, you go first.
You go first.
I gave Red October 6.8 and 6.5. And that's a little low because, like I said before, we're gonna
Very
read
low.
more Hemingway books, and I liked other ones better. Plain and simple.
If it's short, I find it very highly. So I'm gonna give it 8-1.
I'm with you there.
Anything
a short, good read. Yeah.
No one's gonna be like, I wasted my time reading this. What
Obviously, you're right.
You wasted 40 minutes reading it.
Especially, you're right. It's 29 pages. It's a short read, but there is a lot of depth that you think about this for a long time afterwards. Like part of you,
not.
Yeah, you could think about it a lot afterwards. Like even if you didn't read this all at once, what if you like read that part where he's flying off in the distance, and then like you decided, oh, I'll finish the rest of it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a totally different book. It's a completely different story if you did that.
I think the hallucination or the description of oncoming death is probably the best passage we've read in the handful of months we've been doing this.
It's up there.
It's a high peak.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to read next? We had a plan going out with this previous series, but now we're really open ended.
Yeah, so I wasn't familiar with Brave New Worlds. Tell me about that a little bit.
Oh, it's dystopian. It's mentioned in the same breath as George Orwell's 1984. It's
cool.
When people talk about the future society where everyone is, I think there's like what are those, like SSRIs where everyone's on mood enhancers?
Yeah.
And the downside of those, it's
let's do that, because honestly, I feel like a lot of people are pretty negative about what's going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of talk about.
Not me. Like, I'm a happy guy.
A lot of talk about 1984 and those type of similarities, and we could read 1984, but I feel like I've done that one before. I'd like to try something new.
Yeah, have you read 84?
Yeah, at least twice. I think once I had to read it in high school, so I didn't actually read it. I just skimmed through it, but then I gave it a shot again, like afterwards.
And it's also a very short book. And then if you read Animal Farm, Georgia, I read those two back to back.
I actually liked Animal Farm. Yeah, that one was pretty interesting.
As did I. I liked Animal Farm more. 1984 is more reference, but I thought I liked Animal Farm more.
Yeah.
Let's do. So Brave New World is mentioned in the same breath as George Orwell's 1984.
Yeah.
And then do you want to pick do you want to do a nonfiction after that? Do you know who Annie Jacobsen is?
No.
She came out with this book about how a nuclear apocalypse would happen. But she also has some other interesting books. There's an Area 51 book. There's Secret History of CIA Paramilitary. There's Operation Paperclip about Nazi scientists in NASA, Pentagon. Like, there's a lot of cool. If we're thinking about doing Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock, it kind of could be a cool, like, little conspiracy trio of books if we do.
You want to start with? So we'll do Brave New Worlds. Then you want to start with Fingerprints of the Gods, and then the one by.
Only thing about
Yeah.
Go ahead. Only thing about me, Fingerprints, I can't get it for 6 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks.
No, let's put that one back. Yeah, then let's do that one by the first one that you mentioned there. Annie, what was it?
Annie Jacobsen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Some of them are a little long. I'm gonna see people. I think can be very good too. The one about have you read It's only 376. It's about the puzzle of Polynesia, the founding and the exploration of Polynesia. That's
No,
pretty
haven't heard
interesting
of
to
it.
me. I like ancient civilization there. And well, we can finalize this offline. Just wanted to kind of give you what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Again, I don't want to keep suggesting books because I feel like I've suggested 4 books in our series, and not many have been hits. I'm bad at suggesting books. Even my old book club, I was so bad at suggesting books. Tribe, I suggested no.
Well, we're giving you a
Playing
shot.
for
We're
Keeps, I
giving you a
suggested not that great.
yeah.
Okay, let's just do Brave New World, and then you'll pick the best Annie Jacobson book you see on Amazon
All right. Yeah, deal.
or that you can get. Okay.
Cool. Yes. That
Final
leaves us.
thoughts.
That leaves
Luca
us
to the
two.
Lakers.
Um. Yeah. I keep thinking back to uh the trade for the French guy on the Timberwolves. Their big
Rudy
man,
Gobert.
Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert. I remember when he got traded, I was like, "Are you kidding me? They gave up like 4 or 5 first-round picks to get him,
Yeah.
and that's Rudy Gobert." Luka Doncic literally at the end of his career could go down with some of like the biggest numbers historically of all time. I don't think it's
Do you know what I
crazy to
heard?
say, huh?
He's made more NBA first teams than Steph Curry,
He's
and
and
he's
he's
25.
25.
Steph Curry's 34 or something.
Yeah, like he's putting up like in terms of the age that he's doing it, LeBron type stuff. Better than LeBron type stuff. It's like LeBron and Oscar Robinson are like the two people when you look at not just scoring but rebounding and assists too. So I
Yeah,
don't
that's
like the
right.
Lakers. Never liked the Lakers. Always
I like
will.
them more than Celtics.
I hate them both. This I almost wish like when that Chris Paul for the Kobe Bryant situation trade got busted up, I was
Yeah,
actually happy about that. Now the Lakers still ended up winning afterwards, so whatever. I wish the NBA stepped in here and said no.
that's interesting. I forget
I
why they said no to that Chris Paul to the Lakers.
Yeah, I forget why also, but I'm glad they did in retrospect. Yeah, this one, I don't know if the Lakers are like, I don't think they're the best team in the West with the trade now. It's just very annoying to me that they have Luka now.
Well, they have Luca for the next, 12 years.
Who knows? They have to sign him. Next year he was supposed to get his max contract with the Mavs, so I don't know how that works now with the Lakers. I think they could sign him for 4 or 5 years, but with less money. But yeah, if you're the Lakers, you have to do everything you can to keep him. But why wouldn't he stay in LA?
Yeah, I would assume they're signing him.
Yeah, you have to.
Especially because I read something that the max, once you go to a new team, you're no longer eligible for the super max. You're just
Correct.
eligible for the regular max.
They did
So
the
they're getting him
supermax to try
below.
and they did the supermax to try and keep stars with the teams that like brought him up.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch NBA when it comes to the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, and then
But you know that like last year, so we're what, like 9 months, the Mavs went to this championship.
yeah,
The Mavs were in the NBA finals and Luka Doncic is their best player. And they
but
just
he
got
plays no defense.
for
Like,
nothing. I mean, sure, whatever. Like, even if he doesn't play defense, like, all right, you find other guys to play like defense on the team, and you still have him.
I kind of like when my stars play a little bit of defense.
Sure, he plays a little bit of defense. Like, he gets rebounds, like the cheapy rebounds, but no, is he like a max effort defense kind of guy? No, he still though is like if you're doing a fantasy draft for the NBA and like a dynasty fantasy draft, he might be one.
Yeah. Oh, to start a team with,
Because he's 25.
I bet it'd be Wemby.
Yeah, maybe. He's 25. Luka's not that much older than him.
I know, it's crazy. I'm trying to think who I really like. Like, my favorite NBA player played really good defense.
What, all time?
Yeah, or just like when I really watched the NBA. Like I liked when we were in college and Russ I liked him when he played good defense. He wasn't
Yeah,
the best player, but I liked his effort and I liked that he played defense.
yeah,
I sound like an old man.
yeah. You really do. I mean, he doesn't play defense, but Luka hits threes from the logo.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Yeah, he's such a complete player. The Lakers just got away with a steal.
That's the thing that they gave up no first.
And if,
They gave up
and
one.
If Anthony Davis is 100%, if he's fully healthy, the Mavericks could be very good this year. But Anthony Davis is 31, and they just traded away their entire future after
Yeah.
going to the championship last year. Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Well, we'll see.
If I'm a Mavs fan, I am not a Mavs fan anymore.
Oh yeah, that's what you. That's what you. If you care about sports, your worst nightmare is where you just get fleeced for your top player and don't get anything back.
For no reason, really. There wasn't any reason to do this unless they're just not telling you something.
It's almost worse than a handful of bad drafts. It's if you have the guy and you somehow lose him.
Probably, yeah, because in the NBA, it's all about getting the one guy, and Luka was the number 3 pick, so they got just like it wasn't like they had the number 1 overall pick and it was a no brainer. Like 2 people missed on him, and they got him at 3, so they kind of stole him.
The only other thing I can think of is when the Red Sox traded away Mookie Betts.
Yeah, some people have said that. Okay, I can't think of anything else that really compares to it.
But I mean, the Red Sox have done nothing really since he left, and he was a fan favorite.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate, I guess. I just this one is like unheard of to me. It's just because they gave back. It wasn't even like they gave back a ton of players and they didn't work out. Like the Lakers gave back a whole ton of players and it didn't work out. They didn't give them anything except Anthony Davis and one other Martin, I think was the guy's name.
Well, apparently they didn't shop him.
I know that doesn't make any sense because, like I said before, they could have gotten like at least 5 first-round picks for him.
Yeah,
it's weird. They're not rebuilding because otherwise they would have gotten picks.
So I was listening to a couple podcasts about it just because I'm fascinated. Because you know how the NBA All-Star game, they used to, I don't know if they still do this, they used to do like Team Steph versus Team LeBron or Team Giannis. So when I woke up, Thomas woke up super early. I took him to the playroom. I put on ESPN and let him run around. And I saw on TV, Luka Doncic traded for Anthony Davis. My first thought was, I think this is like within the All-Star team. Like,
that's yeah.
One All-Star team traded for Luka, one All-Star team traded for Anthony Davis. I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. They're doing like they're
trades. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, trying to make a trade in the team. And then I just kept watching it. I saw Luka with the Lakers logo behind him. I'm like, is this the real trade?
Yeah.
And so apparently it is.
Yeah, there's got to be something with that organization because when Cuban sold it, whatever it was, a couple of years ago or so, like prior to him selling it, he made a quote out there that says he would rather get divorced than give up Luka. Like if he had to choose Luka or his wife, he would take Luka on the Mavs.
All right, I'd be worried if I was Mrs. Cuban right now.
So, but he's not involved with the Mavs anymore. Something must have happened.
He's a minority owner.
Yeah, I don't think he's much a part of it. Definitely, he's not like sitting courtside at the games and is their number 1 fanboy like he was.
Really weird.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't think it makes the Lakers that much better, but I could be wrong there. But I don't think it makes them that much better. Even though they did just beat the Knicks without him, and without Anthony Davis, a week ago?
Yeah, last weekend. I think the whole strategy at NBA now is get one superstar and then try and get the next one when they're upset at their team and they want to leave and they want to force a trade.
Yeah, I would say
you have Luka for the next 10 years and then the next star who's disgruntled, you'll just trade for him.
Well, that's what it is. So yeah, they just set themselves up for a decade.
Yeah, to be the location for the next guy who wants to switch teams.
Because even if you put like 4 scrubs next to Luka, with the stupid NBA, 10 teams make it to the playoffs.
I know,
you're in the playoffs every year just with Luka, most likely.
For sure.
Yeah. So, the Lakers did great.
I just want the Knicks to do that one time. Why can't we be the team to get that guy?
We did. We got Jalen Brunson from the Mavs for pennies.
That's fair. He's good. I like him. I don't watch him enough, but
If you did, you'd love him.
I know I gotta get back to it.
I'm officially into basketball season now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm watching the Knicks pretty much every night.
Well, I'm getting a living room back in about a month, so I can't wait to have that happen.
Good timing. A month from now will be very good timing.
It will be good timing. It will be good timing. And then I'll be on paternity leave in April, so March Madness and stretch run of NBA, NHL. Well, maybe not too bad.
That is a good time of year. And in April, particularly.
Yeah, that's when Natasha's born, right?
Yeah, last year from the time she was born, New York teams went, I think, 13-2 in the playoffs.
Look at that.
It was epic because the Rangers went 4-0, 4-0, and then 2.
Yeah, well, they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, so that means they won 2 rounds at least.
Right, and then the Knicks went 4-2, and then they won the first 2 against Indy, and then whatever it was, New York teams went 13-2, I think, for her first 2 weeks of life, and it was awesome.
That's phenomenal. That's your dream. That's so great.
So great.
And she's just like a potato. She's so small. And
at that point, I was just eating it up. I was up at night anyway. So
exactly, you're up at all times. Yeah.
Every night it was either hockey or basketball on each and every night because they scheduled it out. It was great.
Yeah, you told Julia, I'll take this one. Yeah. Like a night when the Knicks and Rangers aren't playing. Oh, can you get this one
on this night?
All right, buddy. This is a good one.
All right.
We got Brave New World next week, and then we'll talk offline and kind of get our ducks in a row for the next 3 or 4 books.
Good stuff.
You've been frozen this whole time, so hopefully the people.
Full time?
Last 3 quarters.
Ah, well, I just can't see my face then. It's not a bad thing.
Okay, there you go. Have a good one. We'll talk next week.